It appears that Texas Senator Ted Cruz may have a knack for bad timing, or maybe good timing. It depends on your perspective, right? Now, I'm specifically talking about when he goes on vacation. That's right. Flying Ted Cruz was actually spotted over the Independence Day weekend visiting the Greek capital of Athens and the Parthenon. This is while his state dealt with massive, disastrous, deadly flash flooding. So, okay, look, I get it. Okay, you do a vacation, you're going to have a little fun, do some traveling over the Independence Day weekend. That's fine. Although, it's a little strange that he didn't spend his time in America. Like, he goes and visits Greece. Weren't all these right-wingers, it was years and years ago, complaining about Greece socialism. Oh my God, the worst place in the world. Socialism. It's going to make Greece fall apart. And this guy's visiting Greece. Look, I like Greece. Okay. I don't have any problems with it. But it's weird that, right wingers like Ted Cruz love to visit these countries that they criticize, for actually spending money on average people, poor people. Bit strange. Bit odd. But anyway, he was there. And that's not even the main problem, okay? The problem is the fact that he was there while people in his state were drowning from these floods. That's a problem. Again, he was at the Parthenon on Saturday, which is the day after Camp Mystic announced that more than 20 girls and other staff had gone missing in the flood waters. On Saturday, July 5th, about 6 p.m. local time, more than 24 hours after the Guadalupe River burst its banks by about 26 feet. Okay? Cruz and his wife were there. They were in Greece. They were at the Parthenon. They're just having a good old time. And it's funny because someone there actually called him out in person. According to an eyewitness, quote, he was with his family and a lone security guard. As he walked past us, I simply said, 20 kids dead in Texas, and you take a vacation? Now, of course, his response is, he sort of just grunted and walked on. His wife shot me a dirty look. Then they continued on with their tour guide. Yeah. How dare you interrupt my vacation? Did you know I work hard taking food and medical care away from poor people? I deserve a break. How dare you? How dare you, pleb, approach the great and mighty Ted Cruz? Look, this is not the first time, of course, that Ted Cruz has faced criticism for taking a holiday while his constituents suffer from natural disasters. You, of course, remember back in 2021 when Cruz took his family on a trip to Cancun. Man, beautiful Cancun. This is while Texas was being hit by a disastrous winter storm that left millions in the state freezing without power or water. Thanks to that good old Texas power grid. Jeez. Now, of course, he defended the trip by throwing his kids under the bus. Oh, yeah, no, I just wanted to be a good dad. Kids really wanted to go. What was I supposed to do? You know what? Now, I had to return because it just didn't feel right, guys. Oh, really? Are you sure it had nothing to do with the horrific optics and massive criticism that you received, Ted? Okay, but look, the timing here for his vacations is curious. I'm just saying, it is a bit curious. I mean, Cruz landed in Athens on Thursday. That is the day after the Texas Division of Emergency Management announced that it was activating state emergency response resources. And on the day Cruz touched down in Europe, NPR reported that Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick had held a press conference as acting governor because where's the actual governor? Maybe he's on taking another trip. I don't know. But Patrick warned of all the potential flooding that would hit overnight. So basically what I'm saying there is they knew what was coming. They knew. The following day, on Friday, July 4th, the lieutenant governor was forced to call a second press conference to address the scale of the disaster. So, again, not only was Ted Cruz not there, the senator, neither was the governor, which is weird. it's just kind of weird, that they just disappear every time that there is a disaster in their state. Kind of strange. Now, Cruz didn't come back until Sunday, and then on Monday arrived in Kerrville, which had gotten hit really, really hard by these floods. And so now he got in his vacay, and then he came home and went back to work. What's the problem here? Okay. Now, if you ask him, he'll say, well, look, I came back as soon as humanly possible. Okay. So don't criticize me. How dare you criticize me? But wait, that's not true. That's not true. You ask him, okay? And again, he'll say, I came back quickly, but when you look at the records, when you look at his flight data, look, multiple flights, okay, from Athens to San Antonio, Texas happened on Friday, July 4th, and Saturday, July 5th. That's after the floods hit. And while it is not known how many seats were available on each of those flights, there were other possible options, including flights leaving Athens on Saturday morning and landing in San Antonio that evening via Chicago, Atlanta, or Washington, D.C. So he had options. All right. And so not only that, but earlier flights were also available on Friday once the seriousness of the floods was becoming apparent by these officials that were paying attention. So, look, due to high demand, several airlines had also announced this year that Greece would have more direct air connections with the United States than it has ever had. So, there you go. But look, apparently, Ted really wanted to finish up his holiday trip, okay? So get off his nuts. He hasn't. Look, I mean, who cares about the deadly flooding when we've got the opportunity to play tourist, especially after he helped slash funding for weather forecasts, and that is not an exaggeration. Ted Cruz, specifically inserted language into the big, beautiful bill prior to its signing by Donald Trump on Friday, eliminating a $150 million fund to accelerate advances and improvements in research, observation systems, modeling, forecasting, yes, weather forecasting, assessments, and dissemination of information to the public around the weather. In addition, a $50 million NOAA grant to study climate-related impacts on oceans, weather systems, and coastal ecosystems was also removed from the bill. So, yeah. Oops. Turns out, Flyin Ted not only got the weather forecaster's ability to do that before running off to Greece, but also let's remember that Ted Cruz has been doing the bidding of the big oil industry for years. He's, of course, a climate change denier, always has been. He's loved giving money to fossil fuel companies, deregulating those same companies, allowing for more and more pollution, of course, carbon, dioxide, more of that into the atmosphere, all of that. And so, yeah, that's the problem. Experts in climate science point out that this storm was made even more intense and therefore more deadly as a result of climate change. According to Andrew Dessler, a climate scientist at Texas A&M, quote, "We have added a lot of carbon to the atmosphere, and that extra carbon traps energy in the climate system. Because of this extra energy, every weather event we see now carries some influence from climate change. The only question is how big of an influence that is. Basic physics already tells us that climate change very likely made this event stronger." I think it is safe to say that Ted Cruz helped bring about this disaster, along with, of course, all the climate deniers, the fossil fuel companies, Donald Trump, the GOP Congress, but let's not forget the Democrats, of course. You got pro-fossil fuel Democrats like Henry Cuellar, Joe Manchin, just to give you a couple of examples of how this big money from fossil fuels also goes to both parties. But what's worse, okay, is that deep down, all of these people know what they're doing. They know what they're doing, and they don't care. And that's because they're paid not to. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.